So no opening video tonight, guys.
Someone really let us down.
I just didn't have time. I was working today, so I didn't have time. But I'm gonna. All right. Before we even get into like the Recucent thing or anything. So after the show we did, first off, don't judge this show just by the thumbnail. Like, I think there's an important conversation to be had here. But after the Alex tirade I went on the other day, I got a voice message from Matt Fradd, which I freaking really respect him for doing. Like, I think instead of him just kind of letting it go or saying something,
Instead of him pulling an Anthony while he's hangry on live.
Yeah, like something like that. Like, he actually confronted it. And I think that is, like, I don't know if there's anything more like it's just the way you're supposed to handle things, right? So when we did that show, I shot off my mouth and I was like, I don't understand the point of these conversations. I don't understand the point of Matt Fradd talking to all these Protestants. And then I kind of like presumed motives, which I really shouldn't have done. Like, it's, I have no idea what anybody's motives are. And my feelings about that show, we're going to get into some stuff in this show. And but he was kind of letting me like think about like how much of an issue we took with Lofton for using other people to make content, right?
Yeah.
Like, I ripped into Lofton for using other people to make content and to like make his star rise and things like that. I don't know if it's the same thing that we're doing. I don't want to do that. My frustration with the Alex conversation stands. Like, I still am just as frustrated by that conversation. I probably should have handled it better. Like, just getting on and venting and, whatever I did. I don't know if that was the right way to handle it, but I don't want to get into even this episode. I don't want to get into calumny. I don't want to get into detraction. All the people in that photo just happens to be the thing that's starting the conversation we're going to have. And
it's like, we really didn't know what else to put in the thumbnail that would evoke
people to know what the conversation was going to be about, because they posted this photo. One of our friends made a comment about this turning men off, and then Thursday wrote a really thoughtful tweet. So there's a really important conversation to be had around this topic, and there was really no other way to convey that's what we're going to talk about other than posting the picture. And the topic is going to be about gynocentric Catholicism, like, and this idea of what attracts young men to the faith and stuff. So just trying to get that preamble out of the way, because I want to be careful how we go about this conversation. We don't want to insult anybody in that picture. Like, that's not what the point of this show is. But there's something important that happens in that picture that is a part of a larger conversation that I would like to have. So before we get into all that, Mike Pantile, welcome back to the show, brother. It's been a while.
It's been a while, man. And like I said, it was a much deserved post last show roasting over the liturgy wars conversation that we had. That I sent you a voice message probably like a month after that, because I got called out in one of my men's meetings, and he was like, "We can't have you on the sidelines, man. We need you in the fight." And I was like, you know what, dude? And it caused some reflection. Shout out to Rogendi, my bro. He's a huge fan of AB as well. And so, anyways, man. So roast me, guys. Dude, 2 minutes. Let's go.
Well, you know what though? It's like, I understand your hesitancy to jump into that fight, though, especially as a new convert. Like, it might be a good idea not to jump right into the liturgy wars when you were still on fire for the faith. Like, you're learning the faith. This is not it is a touchy topic to just throw your hat in the ring, especially until you've kind of like been in that liturgy for a little while and kind of have a stake in it. So I understand you not wanting to delve into those waters. But all right, before we get into the main topic, Rob, you want to do the Recucent ad?
Yeah, give me a second here.
Oh boy.
I know, right?
Always prepared.
Yeah, God, now I know what you feel like all the time. Give me a second here.
Oh, while Rob's looking, I asked Grok which historical figure I am, like, past, present, or future.
There is a theme it has for
this
you.
This freaking thing said Milo. I'm ready. I'm ready to throw a fit. But there was some funny ones in there, like Bryson Gray. What did it say? His tweets are like
pastor or the head of the SDA church.
The head of the Seventh-day Adventists. Like it's brutal. The Grok AI, man. I don't want anything to do with this. I'm so mad I even posted that thing. Mike is
Okay.
like Anthony, but what? But buff and handsome.
But buff and
I'm
handsome,
getting
yeah.
buff though, so you better chill out. I'm down about 18 pounds right now, and my son's
Hey, guys are
dragging
looking
me.
good, man. The Lenten fasting is doing you guys good.
Lent is definitely doing wonders for me. So, all right, go ahead, Rob. Fire away.
Okay. So, well, first off, I ordered more of the wine, and look what they're sending with all of the
No
wine back.
way. That is
Yeah.
so cool.
And on the back it says, "Thank you for supporting us at Avoiding Babylon, as well as our friends and partners at Recusant Cellars. When you enjoy this wine, just remember wherever the Catholic sun doth shine, there's always laughter and good red wine." So
That's
pretty cool.
Pretty awesome, dude. We really like Recusant Cellars are like our first real sponsor. We had one we tried to do in the past, but like I don't know if our audience was the right audience for it, so like it didn't work out long term.
Yeah, it was a Catholic Will website, which is a great idea, but when most of our audience is Zoomers,
Younger guys,
they're not really thinking of that.
Most of our audience is young, so it's that's kind of why that went that way. But all right, so Recusant Cellars, Rob.
So Recusant Cellars, and I say it wrong according to them, but Recusant Cellars is a small Catholic winery in Washington State. They grow all the grapes themselves on their small farm, ensuring every step of the process reflects the care and attention necessary for a true high quality wine. So even if you're not really a wine person, their wines make very classy gifts for family members, priests, or just anyone you need to get a gift for. If you're looking for a great way to support the channel as well as a small Catholic family business, go check them out at recusantsellers.com. That's RECUSANT, recusantsellers.com, and use code BASED25 at checkout to let them know we sent you. If you use BASED25, you'll get the card and you'll get 10% off.
All right, very good, guys. Go support us through Recusant Cellars. It's a very good way to support us. Okay, so let's get to the picture. Let's bring the picture up, Rob, and we will also bring up. Or do you want to just bring up? Was it? Why am I getting an echo?
I'm hearing it too.
It's probably me. I think we're good now.
Okay, so it started off with Majorian's musings. He saw the picture and he said, "This is the kind of stuff keeping young men out of the church." By the way, and that tweet kind of set off a firestorm.
Yep.
So they posted this picture, and Religious Hippie said, "The gang's all here." And Majorian's musings said, "This is the kind of stuff keeping men out of the church." By the way. And there's quite a few responses to Thursday's tweet. So now Thursday writes, "I hate to be that guy, but I think he's got something of a point, and he's not referring to currently Catholic young men. He's referring to young men who are currently not Catholic. Lila Rose constantly scolds men for this and that, or tells them to do better, but she never takes the same tone with women, literally harming their children through, whatever that act is. Women who take the lives of their children are poor victims of our big bad society. But men who are hesitant to get married because they constantly are bombarded with just how bad it can go just need to get over it. Religious Hippie says that men who smoke or use nicotine aren't ready for marriage because it's an addiction, while posting about how much caffeine she drinks without a hint of irony. This is what we call the Longhouse. When young male creators who are ostensibly representing Gen Z men don't defend them against these kinds of claims, even if they aren't specifically calling out the people in those said claims, but just addressing the idea, and then go and collaborate with the Longhouse. The optics of this situation are that even the creators and influencers supposedly reaching out to young Gen Z men don't have their backs because the Longhouse can offer them clout or exposure. They choose it over defending the aforementioned Gen Z men they allegedly care about. I'm not saying that the young male creators in this picture actually do not care, but in this case, they have appeared to not care because silence presumes assent. I know Iron Inquisitor and Cameron Riker, are well-meaning and good guys, and I don't think they did anything wrong. And I don't think it's wrong to think posts like the one I'm quote tweeting are an overreaction. However, I must, as someone with a lot in common with the Gen Z guys he's actually referring to, ask people mad about this post to please consider the optics and implied messaging. And now this is the thing. This next paragraph is what everybody seems to have skipped over, and I want to focus on first before we jump into the other stuff. Because honestly, as one of the young Gen Z guys who was conditioned to be constantly on edge and constantly aware of which creators and thinkers I can and can't trust, this stuff makes me trust all the male creators in the photo less. Maybe that's wrong, but received according to the mode of the receiver and all. Ignore me, tell me off, call me a hater. I don't care. I just needed to put the perspective of the young men he is actually referring to in there. So him saying, as the young Gen Z guys who are constantly conditioned and on edge to constantly be aware of which creators and thinkers they can and can't trust. I'm not sure if he means like the general Andrew Tate stuff, or if he's referring to other Catholic content creators. And that kind of makes me a little bit, it's not a word salad post, Angel. Not at all. It's actually a very well thought out post.
Yeah.
All right. So you know what? Maybe we'll address that after. Let's get into what he's actually saying there, though. And essentially, he's calling out Lila and saying she scolds men for this and that, or tells them to do better, but she never holds the same tone with women. Now, this is a very common thing where you'll hear everybody say what the duties of men are. It's like men, like you can ask anybody, what is the duties of men? Oh, you have to be leader, protector, provider. You have to be the priest of your home. You have to do this. You have to do that. If you ask a woman, what are the woman's duties to the man? They have nothing. Like they don't actually have an answer for that. And I've seen this over and over and over again. It's a conversation Andrew Wilson's having with everybody. It's not like I came up with this. This is a repeated problem where when you have women telling men how they should act, but women don't hold their own to account and they don't address women the way they address men. And I think this is a big issue for young guys right now.
Well, it's internalized feminism, right? So it's, first of all, it's been bashed into all of our heads that we cannot violate the 11th commandment, and is that thou shalt not be mean to women. And it's like been bashed into all of our heads, right? That's how it goes. And it's the same conversation. First of all, okay, because I've been on social media for a number of years, originally as a Protestant, it's really, really, really easy. Not easy, but it's easier to get engagement when you're making content that scolds men, but puts women on a pedestal, right? It's like focusing on the duties of men and women will follow if men, lead. That's kind of half true. What I see in Catholic circles is often this idea of, I'll submit to him if he's worthy of submission or if he is like Christ. And the problem with that is that it's subversive, because who gets to define what is Christ-like? It's become women.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually really interesting, right? So women are now the ones telling us what is Christ-like. This is a big problem, especially because so this even goes into the larger conversation of what I'm seeing in the Catholic content creation space is this super charitable attitude and posture towards Protestants. But I see the mainstream Catholic guys not letting some of the more provocative Catholic thinkers into the conversation, right? So you get what you're doing is you're kind of softening the Catholic message and having a different posture towards the Protestants. Now, there are negative consequences to not understanding Our Lady properly, right? So somebody said to me the other day, what is the negative of not believing Mary's perpetual virginity? Well, first talk about the positive, right? The positive of Our Lady's perpetual virginity was monasticism, like holy virginity that literally shaped the West. I mean, these men and women went off into the desert or went into monasteries and made vows of chastity to emulate Our Lady. And what you have in the Protestant, there's nothing that even remotely comes close to that in Protestantism. You do get it in Orthodoxy, right? Because they understand Our Lady's perpetual virginity. So now what you have in Protestantism is this feminist Christianity influencing Catholicism, because you have that charitable posture towards them, and you're not even allowing the people who are trying to bring authentic Catholicism into the conversation, is what it seems like to me.
Well, that's exactly what it is, right? And I think when you're starting out, and it's very easy. I guess some people would call me a Catholic influencer, quote unquote. First of all, that's not ever something I ever set out to do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people getting into social media creation is not inherently a negative, but I think intent matters. And so when I came out with my reversion, because I built a page on, being a Protestant Christian, I thought, I was like, okay, this is going to actually just go backwards. It's going to go straight into the ground. But I was prepared for that because I had no other choice but to walk forward where Christ was drawing me. And so instead, the exact opposite happened. I think the problem is when you're starting with the intent of, I'm going to be an influencer, you're kind of looking at the landscape and you're really trying to curate content that appeals to the masses, right? And so, unfortunately, that's where you get a lot of this sola scriptura debunked or, really low-hanging fruit church father stuff that appeals to people at the beginning. And so this is the conversation that Anthony, you and I had yesterday on the phone, was that I don't think all of it is bad. I just think there's too much of it, because this stuff introduced me to the faith in a way. It helped kind of red pill me on the faith. But if that's kind of all we're doing, then I think we're just staying in the kiddie pool. We're staying in the shallow end of the pool. We're not getting any deeper. And then as you get deeper and you're getting into these older encyclicals, you're getting into the writing of the fathers, these older popes, then this is maybe a separate topic. I just find it really funny and interesting that all the feminists, all they can ever quote is JP2.
Yeah.
That's this new guy coming in. I'm looking at it from the outside in. I'm like, nobody's talking about Casti Canubi. Nobody's talking about any of the Piuses. Everybody's always talking about JP2,
feminine genius,
love and responsibility. Yeah, hippie. And then there's this like really like glossy feminine language most creators take because they understand the majority of their viewership are female. And so it's kind of, it's not doing any, we're losing guys to the red pill and Andrew Tate and Islam for this exact reason. We're not inspiring, true piety out of these men, because from the outside it looks like it's run by women. Karen of Parish Council.
So a couple of things. First off, Mrs. C has made that point several times. Like, it's like Catholic Answers is great, and that approach to apologetics is great when you're first coming into the church. It's like you kind of do need like just to be able to explain against the Protestant arguments, right? But it's not what, you can't stay there. If you stay there, you'll always stay a baby Christian. Like, you really do have to go deeper, right? Now, the thing with that, I think young men are really, as a Nova Soto new Catholic convert, this podcast has been incredibly enlightening to me. So look, now the thing is, especially the women that watch our show, they don't come off to me as the typical, you saw a lot of like the normie women in the comments from the criticism of Voice of Reason comments.
Yeah.
So if you go through the comments on my Voice of Reason rant, almost every guy agreed with me, and almost every girl was like, Anthony, this is emotional. I don't know why. Like, everyone, it was like, I don't really. First of all, I don't care what any of them think of me. It was just me ranting. That's all it was. But the responsibility of women needs to be spoken about, and I think the hard thing for men today is that we don't see women holding other women to account. It's like, men will go to a men's conference, and it's like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get your crap together, and go into battle, and you'll get yelled at and like told you're a piece of crap until you get your crap together. But women are just handled with this delicacy, and it's like everyone is afraid to say the main thing that women are supposed to do. Like, women are supposed to nurture, they're supposed to care for their home, but they're supposed to be obedient to their husbands is such a main thing. And I've never heard any female creator say that. It's like, you are to be obedient to your husband. And that's not easy, but you make a vow on your wedding day to honor and obey your husband. And it's such a hard thing for modern women to accept, but it's very important.
And that's obedience, like regardless of the performance of your husband too, unless obviously he's calling you to do things that are obviously dangerous to your soul, the souls of your children. We all know that we should have to stop, just putting the footnotes when we say that as well. But regardless of his performance, you do that anyways
Yeah, let's
because
put
it's
it this
pleasing to
way.
God.
Let's put it this way. If my wife is not my wife, but like if a person's wife is awful to him and treats him like crap, does he still have the obligation to lead, protect, provide, and lay his life down as a sacrifice? Yeah, to love
Of
his
course.
wife as Christ loved the church. Like no matter what she's acting like. But if you flip that around and you say, women, you are to honor and obey your husband, even if he's a bad guy, that like something happens in people's minds and they're like, no, women should only have to obey an honorable husband. It's like, no, that is, if you want to go to heaven, that's not true. Like it's up to you. Do you want to be a saint or not? That's really what it comes down to. If you don't care about being a saint, go ahead, just do whatever you want.
And then again, who gets to define honorable? All of these terms are defined by women.
Yeah.
Like he's worthy of submission. Okay, so again, you're entering the Longhouse, and people and men will buy into that because and it's true because I've heard Father Rippiger say this as well. Everything in your house is an altar, right? You're just lucky or blessed that God has blessed you with a helpmate to take care of those things, but everything that happens under your watch is your fault, right?
Yeah.
But that also doesn't mean that your wife can be intolerable and catty and longhouse you. But a man has a role in that as well, right? A man can really positively influence his wife in so many ways. I mean, I'm a living example of that, right? My wife is Protestant. She's now on fire Catholic, about to get baptized. And so much of that was not spoken. It was in my actions. It was in my deeds and how that was kind of working through me. But at the same time, if you look at sort of the creator space, telling women to be submissive and obedient just will not sell.
Yeah.
It will not sell.
Look,
And so I maintain that like exception makes bad law. So I do maintain that there should be examples of women online. Are there many? Like, no, I can't think of one right off the top of my head that's a super popular social media person. Because, it's funny because women will point out all these different women in the Bible, right? And then they won't mention the Blessed Mother.
Yeah.
It's like everybody else,
literally your
except
example, and it's all about humility and not being seen and just kind of being like it is
right.
The exemplar of modesty and not attention-seeking behavior and things like that, right? So I mean, okay, so like what we're getting to is okay. So Kristen Hawkins tweets out the other day, I'm 100% convinced that abortion is legal because of men. It's a tool they use to cover up their crimes of neglect of women and children they should take care of or have convinced some women they need in order to be equal to them in the workplace. And it's like
for someone who is involved in the pro-life movement, you'd think she would know the statistics of her own movement. Like 75 to 80% of abortions are due to purely out of convenience to the woman. Like, come on.
But it's just this immediate knee-jerk reaction to just never have women be held to any kind of account, like no accountability whatsoever. It's always the man's fault. And I'm telling you guys, look, this isn't an issue in my life. I'm not dealing with this in my marriage. I'm only having this conversation because I think this is what people are up against in this conversation. Like when you're talking about why are people going to Andrew Tate? Why are people going? The reason why is because everybody in the Christian sphere and specifically the Catholic sphere are feminists, and even the men, right? So it's like, okay, so Lila Rose is a better role model than Taylor Swift for my daughter, but I still don't want my daughter watching Lila Rose because Lila Rose is out there telling my daughter, go be the girl boss. Like you could go and work a job and make $100,000 a year and all this. And I don't want that for my daughter. Like I don't. So this is, it's hard to have this conversation without actually saying this, but it is a feminist message that she is bringing forward. She's just pro-life. And I don't.
This is something that the red pill guys get right, is that these women pretend they have no agency. And this is why so many men sort of exit and they're like, peace out, bye. I'm just going to ride the decline because no matter what I do or where I'm going, I'm getting shamed for this, that, or the other thing, including these women that want to act in this specific way and take contraception and use abortion like contraception. Because we know in 99 97% of cases,
Yeah,
that's
that's
all
the
it's being
case.
used for.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. But it's always the big bad men that are manipulating them. It's not, yeah, it's not because they chose to live that life in their teens and their 20s,
It's
late
not like
teens
there
and
was a
20s.
giant feminist movement where they fought for the right to vote and they insisted on being in the workplace. It's not like men dragged them kicking and screaming into this. They wanted these. This is the heart of the issue, and it's like so. Like, and now look, we're going to also talk about patriarchy as well, and it's like this isn't all about women working. It's not. Like that is a significant part of it, but there are like extenuating circumstances where a husband gets hurt, husband's sick, and a wife may have to help out with the bills and things like that. This is not solely an issue of having your wife be at home. It's kind of like a combination of issues of just understanding the different roles men and women have. And because okay, so I was telling my wife this. It's like every single guy I work with talks about their wife like she's a nag. And it's, I mean, I work construction. It's every single guy I work with. They're just
it's
like,
almost every married guy, like every normal married guy, right? That's the stereotype. It's been on sitcoms for 30 years, 40 years.
my nagging wife. Oh my gosh, my wife. Oh, I gotta, and it's not just like the beta husband who's like, oh, I gotta get my wife's permission. I gotta ask her. That's not what we're talking about. It's this, it's happening in marriages all over the place where the wives nag the husband and the husband acquiesces because he doesn't want to hear the nagging, and then it just becomes their relationship. And then there's this relationship in the home where the wife is just annoying and the husband just doesn't want to hear it, so he does whatever the hell she wants, and then the husband doesn't ever act like a man in the home. And it's like this it's such a scary thing. I'm saying, like, I don't know if I know any guys that are secular that would like that when they talk about marriage, they're like happy they're married. They're like, oh, I'd never get married again. I never, like, I it's just this issue is way bigger than anybody realizes.
Well, what standard did they have to live up to in a secular marriage? They're both working, so they're like 50% man, 50% woman. They've split it, right? This is why it's really good advice. Shout out to my buddy Will Noland. It's like, hey, listen, if your wife works and you're expecting her to come home and then be this trad wife while you sit up with your feet up, it's like, now you got to do housework, bud.
Yeah.
You've already sort of cut off one of your balls and put it in her purse anyway. So, you know, you got to meet your marriage where it's at. But the issue is that, you know, it's a difficult thing having to not lay down the law, because it was funny when I was on Pints and I said, lay the hammer down. Everybody's like, he said, lay the hammer down. How dare he? Oh my goodness. It's like people really want to cringe when I say that. You know what I mean? When I mean enforce boundaries and say no, everybody can relax. Like, I don't touch, my wife is like my queen. She's my everything. I'm not going to lay the hammer down and be vicious or ruthless with her. But when I say put your wife in her place, that's also not a negative thing. We've spun it as a negative thing. If you do not know how to say no to her and contain her, which is good for her and it's good for your marriage, that's going to run amok. And that causes instability and uncertainty, because then she takes on a manly role. Like, this is not rocket science. And the same thing too with patriarchy as well, because I think we got to be kind of not careful, but it's not going to look like identical in every household. Because like the temperament of the man and the temperament of the woman matter, and we have to take these things into account. We're creatures.
So there's more type A women, and you know what I mean. So like sometimes the women type A personality. So yeah, that absolutely does look different in every marriage. But like you said, like if you're sending your wife out into the work world, first off, this is something that is rarely spoken about. But do you know how many affairs happen at work? Like you're sending
almost all of them.
You're sending your wife out into a realm where men are hitting on her all day. Like, and then your marriage gets stale at home, and you get that nagging thing happening at home, and then all of a sudden some guy, like, there's this epidemic of female teachers sleeping with their students right now that is insane. Like, when you really get down to the numbers of it, it is everywhere. And the reason that's happening is because they're in the workplace, their husband's out at work, they come home, there's absolutely no sexual desire between the two of them anymore because they're sick of each other, they're both exhausted after work, the wife has no energy left for the husband, and now all of a sudden there's some 15-year-old kid checking the teacher out and checking her out on social media, and it's like she's excited that she's attracted to somebody young again. Like, it is such a dangerous dynamic to have that be in your marriage. Now, I understand there are circumstances where that's like you have no choice. That has to be the case. But if it can be avoided in all cases, like if you think you're going to send your wife out to work and then come home after you both work and she's going to make dinner and then she's going to want any kind of any kind of intimacy between the two of you, you're crazy. It's just not going to happen. Like it's just
it's been the greatest psyop of our generation. Well, and the generation previous. It's interesting too when you start to you look at your maybe not your local TLM parish, but your local average Novus Ordo parish. You look at all these older women, because this is all this issue can be lumped into these kind of separate categories, and it's like the sacraments of Satan, right? You look at all these older women, and you see that they have like 2 kids and like 2 grandkids. You're like, oh, so not only were you working, but you're also contracepting. And so it just creates this absolute mess of dysphoria, right? And
then you're not even helping your kids with your grandkids.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, you're leaving them nothing. You're not even helping your children out. And so like I have a degree of sympathy for the men out there that are trying to do it on a single income household, because in the US, just like in Canada, it's gone nuts. So it's gone crazy. But I truly believe a man can apply himself and God will provide the loaf of bread. You can make it happen. What people don't want to address is the luxuries of life. They don't want to fleece their lifestyle. They don't want to let go of the car.
Yeah, you
got to
give some stuff up.
They want to, you want to give some stuff up. They said, listen, you want to be a king of your home? Well, these are the changes that you have to make. Listen, I picked up and sold my place in my hometown and moved somewhere else so my wife could be closer to her family, a little bit lower cost of living. We could build a house and be all together at the same time. And that was a terrifying period of time for me. But it's, again, it's not just this problem, but it's also to a degree of the lack of fortitude in these men, because they're coming off of the heels of a fatherless generation too. It's an entire mess. I look at my 2 daughters and I'm like, man, like what kind of world and society am I trying to leave behind for you? Who's going to be around to marry you?
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, right. So I have daughters too. I even have a son. It's like, but my daughters, so like my son, I'm like molding him to be a patriarch. It's like, and being a patriarch is not on the Lord of the Kingdom. It's a lot more than just letting your wife stay home. And it's a lot to do with keeping your family together. Right. So like we see the damage in the church right now because the Pope, who is the father of the church, is allowing havoc and the children are all fine. Like part of this conversation is because we don't have a father. So keeping your family together is such an important part of being the patriarch. And it doesn't just go to your wife and children. Like that has to extend out a little further sometimes if it can, right? So Rob and I went to North Carolina recently. We went down to a men's conference. Rob reached out to his brother and goes, listen, I'll pay for you to come to the conference, but I want you to come, because he's trying to fill in the place now that his father passed, right?
Yeah.
This is an important thing. And I think us doing this show kind of helped Rob step into that role a little bit, right?
For sure.
Like, I think so. I think the conversations we've had on this show have like both made us both step up our game when it comes to this.
I can't sit here and talk to guys I've never met if I'm not willing to like reach out to my brother and like try to get him back in the church. You know what I mean? So
yeah, look, if you can't love the ones God put in your life, like how are you ever going to love your enemy, right?
Right. So it's that whole order of charity thing with Vans. Like I have to do it with my family first.
So like and part of your role as a husband is going to also be to keep your wife from gossip. So like women have a tendency towards gossip. So if I come in and I find my wife talking to one sister about the other sister, it's like my job to come in and say, listen to me, stop riling up tensions between the 2 sisters. Like you have to be the peacemaker in that situation. If this one's upset with that one, don't add to it. Don't gossip. Try to help this one see the other person's perspective and try to heal that relationship. Like, and that is a very big role you have as a husband once you get married, because women chat, man. They like to gossip.
Well, living your conversion, because we know obviously it's a lifetime event, but living your conversion out loud is really important, because this is a conversation that I had. Well, conversation that I've had with my wife, because she sees me go to, she's not obviously baptized and introduced to the church yet. She will be in a month, God willing, but she sees me go to confession often. She sees me, hears me talk about not wanting to be detractive, because we all have a tendency to do that, especially us Italians. I know we could just fly off the handle. I know I can.
I have that
And so
tendency,
even
for
in just
sure.
having this conversation and setting that example, she's talking to me. She's like, man, I haven't ever thought about it like this before.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to go to confession for this. This isn't good. And I've never thought about it in this way before. And in my head, I'm like, man, glory to Christ, because that's, you're living the example, then you're having these conversations, and it's having an influence on her. It is one thing to say it. It's one thing to say, it's another thing to do it. Right.
So this brings up an important point. Like, as the husband and father of the home, like, you're your wife's spiritual father.
Yeah.
Like, and people don't like I've caught arguments for saying that before, but no, you are your wife's spiritual father. You are your whole family's spiritual father. Like, there's a very important thing about being the priest in your home that we've lost, especially because we don't have real priests right now.
Like, I'm not a fan of a wife having a spiritual director, right? Like obviously a confessor, but her spiritual director should be her husband.
I think she could have maybe another woman, but I think there's a problem with a male spiritual director. Maybe I never thought about that though. I might just be. I kind of see your point.
It just seems like it would be like usurping the husband's duties and responsibilities.
That's something I would want to ask somebody with a greater knowledge on that than me. I don't want to spout my mouth off on something like that without actually looking into it. I see your point, definitely. But I mean, either way, like, you are the spiritual father to your wife. Like, it is your role to get your wife to heaven. Like, it is. Like, Mike is talking about his wife converting because she witnessed him make a life change, right? The same exact thing happened in my home. Like, my wife was Lutheran when we got married, and she had gone through RCIA, but never had like her own personal conversion until she saw me change my entire life praying with my children. When she saw, it was really me teaching my children to pray the rosary in the next room and her overhearing it, that melted her heart. And then she just kind of had her own conversion, and that's how that worked. But it was the witness of seeing me live out my Catholic faith that melted her heart to get there.
It's a heart conversion for women, then it becomes an intellectual conversion, where it's usually the opposite for men, right? It was top down for me, it was bottom up for my wife, and it's very harmonious in that work, and how that has worked, considering obviously the differences between male and female. I wanted to address one thing real quick. I saw a super chat where a lot of it said that a lot of women don't want to leave the workplace because they're used to the money. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the problem here most of the time is I mean, again, there are going to be many cases where a woman has such internalized feminism, this is going to be a hard wall to break. So number one thing is to prevent this problem, get ahead of it before you get married. So that's like, for all these young Zoomer guys that are like looking to date women, like, don't just put up with this, like, set the standards early. Don't waste your time, because it's going to be a lot harder to reverse course later on. But a lot of these guys, the way that they're going about it is completely wrong. I've seen guys successfully do it, guys that are friends, guys that have been clients of mine. And so the way the guys screw up is that there's no plan, there's no timeline, and there's no discussion of like financial situation, because most guys have abdicated that role as well. If I was to do that with my wife, I'd be like, okay, listen, I want to aim for XYZ time. Okay, this is our financial situation. This is how much I make. This is how much extra I'm going to have to work, but I'm willing to do this so you could be in your place here at home. Yeah. And it's providing those details gives that woman that it is stability, comfort, that understanding that you actually have it and you have it handled. It's kind of like that I got this kind of energy that a man should exude anyways. You want to get your wife out of the workplace, lay it out in front of her like this, and then by the grace of God and the Holy Spirit, over time, that will soften her. I've seen it happen so many times. Guys expect that, they clap their hands or they snap their fingers and these changes are going to happen. It's not. You have to get real practical about it.
Can I give you an example of a way that it kind of changed in my home? So, like, my wife has her conversion, and we're at a family party. This is a couple of years back. We're at a family party, and she had 2 glasses of wine, and I know she has to drive. And I say, okay, stop drinking. You have to drive, because we had separate cars. She's like, okay. And I come back 10 minutes later, and I see her drinking another glass of wine. And I said, put the glass of wine down now. And I said it in front of everybody. And she was so angry with me that I told her what to do in front of everybody. So I didn't let her drive home. I drove home because she didn't listen to me. And it turns into this was a couple of years ago. This turns into a fight on the way home. And she's like, your brothers would never tell their wives what to do. And I said, let me explain something to you. You didn't marry one of my brothers. You married me, and you made a vow to obey me. And I'm not going to have my wife disobey me in front of people specifically, but in general at all. Something about like me just putting my foot down like that and just not yelling, not flipping out, but just making the point, I didn't want you to drink. Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that. It was just, I told you to do something and you disobeyed me, and I'm going to confront you when that happens. I've never seen my wife see me so differently after that. Like, she just looked to me like I had a presence with authority after that. It was a very interesting thing that happened. And I realized in that moment, like, because there's times where women will just get like emotional and erratic and stuff. And if you're just calm about it and you just say, stop it, no, something in them, like they like it. I don't know why. It's hard to explain, guys. They like to be told no by a very firm.
And that's how the youngest was conceived.
The second. But you know, in essence, the reason why women like the bad boy is because, well, part of it is she feels like if there's a threat, he'll actually protect her because he's got that edge to him. This is why women don't like the nice guy, because he's soft. He doesn't give off that like I'll rip the guy's head off and then kiss a baby later and cuddle with you later type of vibe. This is why. And saying that and sitting in the discomfort of no, that's a hard thing for most guys to handle. This is why I advocate for, especially Catholic men, you got to do difficult things in your day-to-day life with your hobbies and things that you do. So, you know, you mortify your flesh. So you're able to sit into this discomfort, man. It sounds really meathead. I sound like such a meathead on Twitter telling guys to lift weights and learn to fight and like all these other things. But I'm like, it helps, guys. It really does.
It does. It absolutely does. And the fasting helps too. The fasting helps more than anything because like when you can conquer your appetite, you realize like, whoa, man, this is a rough one. But look, I'm not out here telling guys to like go home and just yell at your wives. Like, that's not what I'm trying to show you here. I'm trying to show you that like just the idea of, look, you made a vow to honor and obey me, and if I say something, you have to listen. Look, my wife was out of control with spending early on in our relationship, and I took her credit cards away. It's like I'm not letting. So now, like, I sent the text to Rob recently because the conversation had come up where it's like,
Thursday.
You know, really on a tangent what I was expecting. Well, no, because this is we're talking about women in general right now, and the thing is, like your wife should like, because Tim catches crap a lot for this, where he's like, women shouldn't leave the home without the man's permission. It's not necessarily that, but like my wife won't leave the house without shooting me a text and going, hey, I'm going to the store. I got to get this, and this. Can I also buy this? Like she'll ask me, like she'll never just go and buy something without running it by me first. Like there's like necessities that we need in the house. It's like, okay, I have to go to the store to get chicken and this, but like there was something cute I saw. Do you mind if I buy this? Now, sometimes I'll say yes and sometimes I'll say no, but that's the dynamic you should have in your home. So, all right, maybe Thursday's right. Maybe we should wrap this back over to the Longhouse in the church. Because what is being presented to young men, it's like this effeminate version of Christianity, or Andrew Tate, and like those are the two options. And I'm trying to figure out how we can be role models for young men and make them see what we're doing is honorable and like, wow, I want to aim for what those guys have. And I think that's the challenge that we have.
Yeah.
Is Mike frozen?
I can't tell, actually. I think he might actually be frozen.
Yeah, Mike's frozen. I was like, wow, long awkward silence. Did we lose you, Mike?
Yeah, sorry. No, I had no idea what's going on. I was doing that periodically. Yeah, so sorry. Finish that last point so I can get back to my thought here. Sorry about that, guys. I'm in the prairies, guys. I'm in like, I got like igloos and snow and polar bears outside, bro. Pardon me.
So what I was saying is like, I want to try and see how we can be like a role model for young men, present a version of Catholicism to them that they see as challenging, honorable, and like, wow, I want what those guys have. That's like I think that's the way to approach this. And look, a lot of this goes into what Thursday was saying about like being so afraid of which content creators I can watch and which ones I shouldn't watch. I don't know if that's coming from within the Catholic sphere and they're telling guys like, stay away from Avoiding Babylon, stay away from this guy, stay away from this
I
guy.
think
Or
what
if he's
he's
just
saying is young men today they're wary of everyone, right? They because they've been screwed over by everyone. So they don't know who they can trust. And now a picture like this comes up and men they thought they could trust, they now get that inkling that, well, I really can't trust him.
yeah,
So
but
I don't think it's
he said he was being told constantly, don't trust this guy, don't trust this guy. Now I think he's talking about like the Andrew Tates and those guys, but I don't know, maybe it's the Tim Gordons he's being told don't trust. Maybe it's the Mike Pantiles, maybe it's the Avoiding Babylons. I'm really concerned with gatekeeping and not allowing certain people in the conversation, right? So we were like, I'm wondering why Christian Wagner isn't invited on a lot. Like, I understand why we're not, like, we're bombastic and whatever we do. Like, I don't ever think I'll be invited on Matt Fradd's show. It's just like, we're just not a good fit for him. But I would like to see a Christian Wagner get on that. I would like to see a Joshua Charles get on there. I'm glad Mike was on there. I was like really happy to see you on there, Mike. And I'm not just talking about Matt's show either. I don't mean to single Matt out in any way whatsoever. I'm talking about in the mainstream conversation. It feels like there's different groups going on. And it feels like the mainstream guys are more charitable and open towards the Protestants. And it feels like some of the Catholics are being gate kept out of the conversation because they might be a little risque, is what it seems like to me, but I could be wrong.
I have to give Matt huge credit for having me on because, one could assume, and we had some sort of conversations beforehand, that I was going to come out there and just be a flamethrower and just like absolutely just like lay waste to everything. And it was actually a really amazing conversation, and he went on a limb and gave me an opportunity. So I've never gotten that impression from Matt. Matt's a great guy. I love him. Like I can't personally say that. It's a strange thing because I've kind of I've been thrust into this over the last year. I'm going to be on Keith's show. I'm flying to Iowa next week. That's like, I can't believe this stuff is happening. I don't see the gatekeeping myself from like my angle.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right about that. Because we look, all those guys came on our show. Matt came on our show. Brian Holsworth came on our show. Keith Nestor came on our show. Like, maybe I'm saying that wrong. And not for another. I know Matt likes me. Like, he calls me and talks to me if he has an issue with me. Like, that to me tells me right off the bat he doesn't see me as somebody he doesn't like. Like, I really do want to keep. I want, like, the whole point in when Rob and I started this was I saw a division happening where trads were starting to say things like Scott Hahn's a modernist. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you guys even talking about? Like, this is crazy to me. Like, like if I can't go and sit and listen to a Scott Hahn talk because I'm not a trad, like that seems bizarre to me. Like, I still like the Patrick Madrids, and I still like those guys. I think like those guys taught me my Catholic faith. So if I can't, if like I'm not trad because I like those guys, that was kind of why we got into this. And I was hoping to be the bridge to bridge the divide. And then I think like one of the things Matt said to me was he saw we commented on Father Mike Schmitz recently, but like we weren't criticizing Father Mike. It wasn't like we prefaced that whole conversation with like, I love Father Mike. I listen to his homilies with my kids on the way to mass. I think he could have said this better on Fox News. And that's similar to what I was doing with Alex, but I was mean about Alex. Like with Alex, it was like Alex kind of was so charitable in that conversation that I feel like it was almost dangerous to allow 1 million people to witness him water down what the position on invincible ignorance was. And I think, but at the same time, like, I'm not telling anybody don't listen to Alex. If Alex ever wanted to come on and have a conversation with us, I'd have him on in a second. I want to make sure Catholics are still talking to each other.
Yeah, I love voice of reason. I mean, I'm not a fan of the appearance on Janko. Just like you said, maybe I wouldn't have said it how you said it. Maybe if I was hangry, I would have said it how you said it, because I've said worse things before. I love Alex, but yeah, I mean, And this is the thing. I don't know if it's because, I mean, well, I know it's because people have gotten soft. If we know it's coming from a good place, let's say, there's nothing wrong with fraternal correction, bro. I grew up in the trades. Okay. I grew up on job sites and I was a mechanic and I did construction. I did all these things. Man, we would rip on each other horribly all day, every day. And if you didn't know how to hang, you would be the bottom bitch.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
Yep.
And so you have to prove your worth and you have to, grow a thick skin. We don't have that anymore. So when you get guys coming out there and just kind of just like shooting from the hip, saying certain things that I don't think we're meaning, trying to like, detract or defame somebody. But it's like, man, we should be able to correct each other.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so. And I think like being able to correct each other and then come on and have a conversation about it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like,
that too.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, man. Everybody's so soft. It's like, oh, he was uncharitable. It's like, what? That's not how, like, men just say things sometimes, and then you confront the guy. Like, I'll tell you, man, there was, I don't want to say his name just because I don't want to throw shade at him, but there was another Catholic who said something about me and even like mentioned my wife and said something. And instead of me being like a bitch about it and coming on here and starting a thing, I just called him on the phone. I was like, all right, look, you were right about that. And he was right in one of the things he said to me. So I was like, all right, you're right. And I changed something I did because he said it publicly. Probably should have said it privately. Maybe I should have said what I said to Alex privately, but I don't talk to Alex, so I can't say it privately. Like, these conversations are happening in public. I don't know how you do have the conversation around it without it seeming like gossip. But like, I think that this conversation is not just gossip. I think we're trying to figure something out here, right?
No, I'm extremely scrupulous, and like I said before we got on, I prayed that I'm like, I don't want to go to confession and after, so Lord, restrain my tongue and tame my speech, because I'm not trying to come on here and bash people or misrepresent somebody's point. But I think it's an important conversation to have. I don't think we're gossiping at all. I haven't heard us say a single bad thing about anybody that's in that picture. I haven't.
Well, okay, so speaking of the people, well, maybe Lila a little bit, but it's not really like addressing her character. It's her ideology. Like, I have an issue with the feminist ideology, and I think it's infected Catholicism very bad. And I think that especially the Catholic women presenting themselves as influencers are not even aware of how much feminist influence they're under. And I think all of us are kind of under it to a degree. It's hard to escape it. Like, we're kind of swimming in the waters of feminism, and to like break out of it, it's a really difficult thing. When you read those old encyclicals, you feel like it's a different world.
Well, this is my thing with even just like what gossip is or isn't. Like, is it detraction? I think Tim Gordon brought up this example. Is it detraction if you saw a naked guy walk through or run through your kitchen and often jumped over the fence and you told somebody? Is that detraction? Like, if we're seeing Lila Rose go on her podcast and talk about feminism in this positive light, encouraging women to do this, is that necessarily detractive or gossiping to talk about it on a public medium if it's a public conversation?
I think it's almost like the sin of omission to not talk about it. Like, if she's presenting publicly, it's almost like if you don't address it, there's a problem there. It's like, I'm not saying anything bad about Lila as a person. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. I don't know her. It's just what she's saying publicly really does need to be addressed. It's like, I don't know what young women are supposed to. But like, that's the thing. Like, also, even like because it's like, should women be private creatures and not be social media stars at all? Maybe, but I do think women need other women to listen to. I just want to see these women that are presenting themselves like this hold other women to account the way we're holding men to account. It's like, we're telling men, muscle up, go to the gym, be a better husband, go to work, bust your ass so your wife can stay home. What are they saying to women to encourage them to be better women?
They're spending more of their time.
Because the reality of it is, yeah, and the unfortunate reality is most of these trad wives that actually believe and espouse these things are at home taking care of their families, man.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Disagree. Women do not need to listen to other women. That's 90% of the problem.
Not exactly wrong.
Yeah. It depends on what echo chamber you're in.
Yeah,
exactly. I know a couple of women, mainly on Instagram. They're not part of the Twitter conversation, that do talk about these things, but these accounts will never be as big as these other ones, right? And most of these women they're not all, let's say Steph Gordon, for example.
Yeah.
I said to my wife and my good friend Will Nolan, I said, man, if Rachel, his wife, and Karen, did I would never want them to do that ever, and they wouldn't want to do it either.
Yeah.
I said they would do very well because they believe and they live these things, but they're not after that kind of
part of the reason I love my wife is because she would never come on my show. Like I had to drag her on one episode because we wanted to do a thing with.
There was one episode she came on willingly, but
oh, that's right. But she was a little drunk.
Yeah.
And she didn't like come on. I was doing a show outside sitting on my boat, and she was walking home from her girlfriend's house next door, and she had a few cocktails, and she's like, hi, everyone. I'm like, who the hell is this? What's going on here? But yeah, so Rob and I dragged our wives on to have a conversation about temperaments with a couple who wrote a book on temperaments. But that was like a one-time thing. But like my wife wants nothing. She's like wants nothing to. The only thing she watches on our channel are Rob's daily meditations for Lent. She doesn't watch anything we do on here.
Was that the reason why you got pulled into a fast and got hangry last week?
That is literally what happened. So she listened to Rob's Friday meditation last week, and she's like, we should do a 36-hour fast. And I went into that show not eating anything, and I was just like, I've had it. But yeah. All right. So we're gonna go over the locals. I don't know, guys.
We do have some questions that we.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do super chats and questions.
Oh,
you got 10 of them starred.
I know. I know. Hold on.
All the young piss and vinegar filled Zoomers are so disappointed we didn't just lay a flamethrower to the online sphere right now.
It's just I want to be careful about it because.
I know. I'm glad we did it this way, dude. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm not looking to make enemies with anybody. I really don't. I don't want anybody. I honestly, I met Franco when I went to an event in Jersey. He's a really nice guy. I think Cameron Riker, I have some issues with him, his originality. Like I'm worried that he's not really putting original content out, but that's a conversation I'll have with him privately. Franco, you guys may not like him, but he's at least original. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's doing what he's doing. And I don't really know any of the other guys. Religious hippie, I mean, I've spoken on her too. I think, whatever, I'm not going to rehash it. I think there's some problems there too, but it's similar to Lila's. It's like you guys are both presenting this message without any accountability for women. And I think women need to hold women to account, and men need to hold men to account. And there was a time where like women would shame other women if they did certain things. And now it seems like women encourage bad behavior among women. And it's a really dangerous thing. It's like, there was a reason why women were considered hoes if they did certain things. And now it's like the girls around them are telling them, no, you go, girl, you go have these. It's crazy the world our kids are going to be let into. Hey guys, love your content. I've been Protestant since 2018 and has turned to Rome, the church which Christ established, which the gates of hell will never prevail against. Luke Anderson, welcome home, brother. I tell you, there are a lot of Catholic conversions going on right now, man. Despite all the chaos in the church, despite all the craziness, Nancy Charles is the only woman we've ever had on our channel. Fun fact.
You've interviewed my wife.
Hope, Angela, and Nancy. Angela kind of was with us when we were doing the trivia thing. Hope I interviewed because she has an amazingly interesting story. That was my first interview. But Nancy Charles is the only woman we ever had on as a guest, and likely will be the only woman we ever have on this channel because women are annoying.
Well, Tim and Steph. You've had Tim and
Steph. We've had Steph on. Yep.
I'm only kidding, ladies. I'm just teasing you.
And we do have another longtime viewer, Protestant, who is becoming Catholic at the vigil, but we are not allowed to say.
Not to announce that one yet, but he's a pretty regular. Thank you, Jim. Much appreciated, brother. Oh, that's what we have to talk about. Thursday's live show will not be open to the public from now on. From now on, you'll get the Tuesday live show like we did tonight. Then we'll go over to locals. Thursday night, the show will be for YouTube members.
In locals, but yes.
And locals. So you either have to be a locals member or a YouTube member. And then if you're not a member, you'll see the highlights and clips from that show. But the Thursday live show. Now look, memberships for YouTube are only $3. And if you're a YouTube member, you'll be able to comment and we'll be able to highlight your comments. So if you're a Locals member, we can't highlight your comment on screen, but we will keep tabs of the Locals comments. We just won't be able to highlight them on screen. So like, we're going to try this thing out. Like part of this whole conversation Rob and I have been having behind the scenes is, I don't know. Look at Jim. That's amazing. Jim's gifting memberships out. So for anybody, I don't know how that works. Can anybody grab those?
I don't know, honestly.
So it's not that it's no longer for the poor. It's that we don't want the show to get too big, to be honest. Like, I don't want to be a social media star. I'm not even kidding. Like Mike was saying, like, I'm not that. Rob and I are very comfortable with the size of the channel right now. And it's like, I'd rather keep our hardcore audience and the people that actually do love the show and not have to worry about audience capture and appealing to a wider audience. Like, those of you who like our show, this is our show. I'm not like, I'm not even kidding. The last bunch of clips we posted, it's not even like, oh, this one's taking off, this one's not. Like, I don't even care anymore. I'm very happy with where we are right now. We're making enough of like a little bit of money where it's like helping with our bills at home. And we've made some really, really good friends doing this. So I think this is where we're going to take this from now on. And we're just going to do the Thursday show is for YouTube memberships and Locals members. So if you guys do enjoy the show, become a YouTube member and we'll see you for Thursday's live show. Otherwise, you guys can still catch Tuesdays. Every Tuesday will be like this. Mike, what do you want to promote, brother?
Man, just subscribe to my small YouTube channel where I just rant on screen for 10 to 12 minutes at a time, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and listen to CMask that we're now uploading on we're uploading on Thursdays instead of Fridays now. But otherwise, that's it, man. If you're a Catholic,
What's the name? Is the YouTube channel name Mike Pantile?
It's my name everywhere.
Okay. Guys, please support Mike. He's fighting a tough battle out there. He's one of the few guys that are out there actually speaking on this topic. Like like Rob and I don't want to get myopic about this topic, but it's one of the most important topics going on in the church. So like it's one of those things where if like these guys are talking about it every week on CMask, it's an important topic that needs to be discussed. I like having the conversation on occasion, but we also like to have other conversations too. So that's why we're not like so focused on it. But I think it's Thursday. Thank you for writing that thoughtful tweet, man. Majorian's Musings. Mm-hmm. You caught a lot of crap on Twitter, but you started a really good conversation. Appreciate you too. Guys, go follow Thursday Majorian's Musings on Twitter. They provided the content for tonight's show. And we'll see you guys over on Locals.
Whoa. We got the questions to get to.
Oh, you still got questions? All right.
Yeah, we didn't get to a single one. You just started talking.
All right. Yeah. You know me.
Okay. Mike, what's the minimum strength a man should have on the big three?
2 times body weight squat, 1.5 times body weight bench, and 2.5 times body weight deadlift. If you want to get into like your decently strong category.
Every guy should be able to put 2 plates up.
Yes.
Every guy should be able to put 2 plates up. 10 times.
Squat 4, bench 2, deadlift 4 to 5.
Man up, you wimps.
Come on, guys.
So Rachel says, what would be your advice for someone like me who has a husband that is also a new Catholic? She was a lifelong Protestant, but he was agnostic until 2 months ago.
Tell him to watch our show.
Subscribe to CMask, watch Avoiding Babylon, and do not get embroiled in Twitter Catholic drama. Practice and live out your faith. It's been the best thing that's happened to me and my wife.
Read up
even
on
though I am on social media.
Rob, what's a good book for a new convert though?
Like for what sort of subject?
Man,
there's
Rachel.
So many.
Let us get back to you on that one. We'll give you a good book to give a man just coming into the faith. It's probably
it depends. Like if you want to learn how to
Sword
live
and
out,
Scimitar or something.
Honestly,
that one, I know a lot of young guys that love that book. Kennedy's book.
Kennedy's what's his book?
His St. Joseph book, Terror of Demons.
Terror of Demons. Yeah, that's a good one for a new Catholic man, I think.
Okay. All right. Next.
Let's see. Single income provider here, married to a homemaker who homeschools her 5 kids with faith-based education. How does he convince his girl boss sister to live in a similar way? I think you just got to keep living your life and living out the faith, and she just has to see that.
Let me tell you something. Like, not for nothing, the the most evangelical thing we've done with my wife's family is live the way we live. Like, my wife's family is so intrigued by the way me and my wife are running our family. Not just that, I hate to break it to you guys, but my in-laws are obsessed with The Chosen. And like, it just happened.
No, we are not getting him on.
They are obsessed with The Chosen, so much so that I have to actually go back and watch it so that I can discuss it with them. And like, my mother-in-law is like, Anthony, I just love Jesus so much. Like,
no, you love Jonathan Rumi. It's not the
Jonathan
same.
Rumi Jesus. But I'm gonna parlay that into watching The Passion with them on Good Friday. So
have they never watched that?
They've never watched it, but
wow.
Look, the Chosen, a lot of people who've never read their Bible is like, it's an introduction to the Gospels for them.
I suppose.
Real quick on that last question, I just saw Keith in the chat. He has a book for new converts. Go check that out by Keith Nestor. I can't remember what it's called, but I just saw him.
Right?
No,
it's for new converts. I can't remember the name of it. Yes. Keith's got the
book.
What's
the name of the book, Keith? Promote your book, stupid.
Yeah, dude. What is it? I can't remember now.
Keith, do you want to join us?
Being in our chat supporting us
or something.
Keith, do you want to join us for locals? I'll send Keith the link if he wants to jump on for locals.
Convert's Guide to Catholicism, something. Yeah. That's a great one for learning how to like live as a Catholic, because we have so many customs that are different. Did The Chosen actually skip John 6?
Oh, I don't know.
Dude, come on.
I don't know.
It wouldn't.
I don't know, but the feeding of the 5,000 was very Catholic. Like, Jesus held the host up like it was like sitting at a mess. Hold on. Thursday wants to come on locals too.
Oh boy.
I
love Thursday. What a guy. Loved meeting that dude.
We'll have Thursday. He was the reason we all right, Keith, I sent you the link, and Thursday I sent you the link. You guys will hang in the green room till we wrap this up though.
Okay, we have two more. So this is from Rumble. So if anyone would rather watch on Rumble, we are on Rumble too for live shows.
And Thursday's live show, I think we'll leave on X. Maybe. We'll see how the first one goes. First one we're going to do with YouTube members. Maybe we'll let one slip through on X on occasion. We'll see. We really want to build the YouTube memberships, though.
What advice for longtime married men with children whose wives would rather leave the church than submit? Ooh. You take it slow. Like, if you've been married for a long time with kids, you can't. Okay, so
this is a disagreement Tim and I had, because Tim basically was like, you should leave, and I'm like, no, like part of you have to keep your family together at all costs, and you have to do what we were saying and just live out your Catholic faith and just be a witness, and especially for your children, right? So it's a slow go, man. Like this wasn't overnight for me in my home. This was a slow process. My wife having to learn these things as well. And it's not always so quick.
Yeah. Well, how long did it take Scott Hahn and his wife? Wasn't it a long time before she came around?
Well, it was multiple years, wasn't it?
Years. Yeah. So I mean, that's your cross, my man. That's your cross. You got to carry it.
I'm turning this down, so I don't.
You said you'd keep them in the green room.
All right, we're keeping you in the green room, Keith.
Hold on.
Stay in the green room.
What's up?
We're gonna put you in the green room while we wrap this side up, and then we'll bring you on locals because you're noisy.
In the green room. Yeah.
All right. Keith Nestor, locals guys, come jump on.
And there's Thursday.
Thursday. We got Thursday too. He's in the green room too. So, all right, last question.
Okay, last question. What if you're too broke to provide for a big family on just a single income? What's some advice besides just make more money? Well,
work multiple jobs, work at night, work the weekends.
Within balance sheet, if you can't increase revenue, you got to decrease expenses.
And also, look, there are some things your wife could maybe do from home, right? Like there are some appropriate jobs that a woman can do from home. Like my wife does photography, and she does like infant photo shoots.
Mhm.
She'll go do an infant photo shoot, and then she edits from home. Like it's like she's literally there for an hour. She does a photo shoot, and then she edits from home. Now my kids are a little bit older. She doesn't have to worry about babysitters or anything like that, but she's able to work from home. So I mean, maybe if you could find something like that, maybe your wife can, you know, find some kind of gig where she's not abandoning her children and she's able to help you out and assist you in your living.
One thing I definitely don't suggest is to start a podcast, because it will cost you a lot of money for the first 2.5 years before you start to see anything.
It takes a while before you get going. But yeah, look, part of the reason Rob and I are doing this is because it's so freaking expensive and I don't want my wife to work. Downsize and simplify your life for sure. All right, we have any more, Rob?
Nope, that was the last one.
All right, guys, we are heading over to Locals. If you enjoy this side, I promise you Locals is more fun. Please,
we did have one for $5 just come in.
Okay.
It's $5, so we should get to it. For single Catholic men, would you recommend dating or marrying a lady who took the COVID jab?
Ooh.
No.
Probably not.
Don't do it.
Honestly.
I don't know what the long-term.
Don't do it.
I mean, there's two like issues. One, the physical, right? We don't know long-term effects, especially on fertility. And two, kind of just the moral, like giving in aspect to it, right?
That's more forgivable, I would say, because women, that they're more susceptible to that. But it is a point. It's more so like the long-term health ramifications and fertility. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a hard one.
Man, that's a hard one.
Yeah,
it's a hard one because it's easy to say no, but you meet a good woman.
That's true. There's a lot of things
that
could
woman, man. I don't know. It's a hard one.
That
people
the
make
other
mistakes, and you're gonna hold that. I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with you guys on that one. I know. I get it. It's just like Mike said. People are susceptible. Women are specifically susceptible, and if they were under their father's care and their father told them to get it or something.
Yeah. I don't blame them for that.
I'm very worried about the long-term fertility effects. I'm very worried about that. But that's when you got to take to your priest, I would say.
That's right. 100%.
Oh, your priest is probably vaccinated, and he's going to tell you no, not to tell you guys. Your priest probably talked her into getting it in the first place, but I don't know, man. It's kind of like, to me, that's like in the times of the Donatists, when it was like people who denied Christianity under the Diocletian persecution. It's like, should we let them back in the church? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm for forgiveness, but
I was going to be fair. We know the Donatists were wrong on that, but
yes, that's my point. So, all right, guys, we're going over to Locals. We got Keith Nestor and Thursday on deck. We will see you guys on the other side. Thank you for joining us, and the YouTube members will see you on Thursday.
Unite the clans. Enoch. Let's go. Yo. Take me back to my reversion. Unite the clans, I give thanks to each person. It's that same holy water that we immerse in. It's that same tradition that we all each verse in. United we stand and divided they win. They ignited in their plans.